Hey guys, welcome to the station. This is Deveeka, your biology mentor, and I welcome you all to this fantastic platform of Don't Memorize, in where we are talking about the बायोलॉजिकल टर्मिनोलॉजीज. यस, आज मैं आपके लिए लेके आई हूँ बायोक्शनरी कंप्लीट क्लास 10 के एंटायर टर्मिनोलॉजीज आज हम खत्म करेंगे. अगर आप ये सेशन पूरा शुरू से आखिर तक देख लो तो आपकी बायोलॉजी है सॉर्टेड और पूरा का पूरा रिवीजन भी एक शॉट में फटाफट हो जाएगा. तो चलो विदाउट फर्दर अडू लेट्स गेट स्टार्टेड. राइट, तो सबसे पहला द फर्स्ट चैप्टर दैट इज योर लाइफ प्रोसेसेस. इन लाइफ प्रोसेसेस वी टॉक अबाउट डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ प्रोसेसेस एंड शुरू करते हैं कि लाइफ प्रोसेस मतलब क्या. तो लाइफ प्रोसेस को कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे? इट इज अ वाइटल प्रोसेस कैरिड आउट बाय लिविंग ऑर्गेनिज्म. कैसा कहा है? वाइटल प्रोसेस बोला गया. वाइटल मतलब कि विदाउट दिस यू कैन नॉट लिव. राइट, सो इट इज अ वाइटल प्रोसेस, राइट, that is carried out by the living organism in order to maintain and sustain life. Without this there is no life, without this there is nothing, right? We cannot sustain, we will die. Then what's nutrition? Next terminology, nutrition. Nutrition is the process of obtaining and utilizing the nutrients, right, which are necessary for our body, so to sustain life. Whatever we eat is for sustaining, and that's nutrition basically. So nutrition now is of two different types, right? So first one is autotropic. Auto matlab ki self, right? Auto is self, tropic is nutrition. So autotropic nutrition, like your plants, right? So they can create their own food, no need to depend on anybody else. So इसका definition हम कैसे लिखते हैं? Nutrition is characterized by the ability, right, by the ability to use simple inorganic substances. कैसा substances? Inorganic substances मतलब in case of photosynthesis what do we use? We use H2O, water. फिर हम क्या करते हैं? कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड को भी यूज करते हैं, राइट. एंड इन द प्रेजेंस ऑफ सनलाइट फ्रॉम दिस इनऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंस वी मेक अ ऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंस विच इज व्हाट? C6H12O6, मतलब कि हमारा ग्लूकोज. सो दैट्स हाउ फ्रॉम इनऑर्गेनिक सब्सटेंसेस वी आर सिंथेसाइजिंग मोर कॉम्प्लेक्स ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड. इसे हम क्या कहेंगे? ऑर्गेनिक कंपाउंड, राइट. सम ऑफ दैट इज ऑल्सो फाउंड इन बैक्टीरिया, जिसे हम कीमोट्रॉपिक बैक्टीरिया कहते हैं, जैसे कि वहां पे केमिकल्स को यूज करके अपना खुद का एनर्जी बनाया जाता है. अब आगे जाते हैं कि ऑटोट्रॉप्स कौन हुए. तो द ऑर्गेनिजम्स विच शो ऑटोट्रॉपिक न्यूट्रिशन, दोज वुड बी द ऑटोट्रॉप्स. नाउ हेट्रोट्रॉपिक, हेट्रो मतलब क्या? अदर्स. हेट्रो मतलब क्या? अदर. एंड ट्रॉपिक, ट्रॉपिक इज नथिंग बट न्यूट्रिशन. सो like you and me, we depend on others, right? Even the cat, dog, all of us, we depend on the plants directly, indirectly for our energy, right? So a type of nutrition in which energy is derived from intake of digestion of organic substance. We don't take inorganic substance. गौर करने वाली बात है, we take direct organic substance. We cannot take inorganic substance and make energy. That's the that's the peculiar characteristic of autotroph. तो यहाँ पे normally plants and normally we eat plants and other animals like your chicken or mutton, right? So who are heterotrophs then? Heterotrophs are the organisms who exhibit the heterotropic nutrition. Okay guys, this is a beautiful sum up PPT which you will find in our Telegram channel, right? So just go and click on the Telegram link which is there in the description box. You'll find all those beautiful materials over there, right? And also many practice questions are also getting published every day. So let's see you there, right? Going to the next one, a very important, photosynthesis. So what is photosynthesis? This is a process by which plants and some of the other bacteria like your cyanobacteria and all, right? So those organisms can make carbohydrates, right, by taking up oxygen, carbon dioxide and using water. We have already talked about. Then what's stomata? Stomata is the nostril kind of a thing, like we have nostril, यहाँ पे stomata होता है for taking in carbon dioxide, for giving out oxygen. Similarly, even for water evaporation, that's your transpiration, but it cannot take in water. Remember this, it cannot take in the water. So what is this stomata? They are the minute pores. What are they? Pores. They are not organs, pores, जो कि present in the epidermis. Epidermis, epi मतलब क्या? See guys, biology is a language, I always tell you people. Epi in bio will always be above या फिर up, right? So the upper dermis skin, so upper layer of the leaf, right, through which the gaseous exchange and transpiration occur, right? Easy, wasn't it? Then, yay, alimentary canal. The next terminology is alimentary canal. Alimentary canal is the opening from the mouth to the anus, right? And this is for what? This is a long tube extending from the mouth to the anus and has the capability, right? Capability of digestion, absorption, as well as egestion. Egestion is the process of removal of undigested, unwanted food material. Then, yes, we have this one, the enzymes. What are enzymes? Enzymes which are now being used for digestion in our digestive system, okay? So, these are bioenzymes. I would rather write it like bioenzymes. Bioenzymes are the catalyst, but how? Biological catalyst which are present inside us. So in chemistry you must have learned about catalyst, you know, the substance which will enhance the reaction rate but will not become the part of the product. So that is the enzyme, right? So they just do what? They just speed up the process. Without the enzymes, guys, without the enzymes, the normal biological processes would have taken years to be finished, right? And would have not been of any use. Alright, going to the next terminology now, students. Are you guys with me? Right? So perisystalis. Now what does that mean? Perisystalis is nothing but a wave-like motion, right? So here the process of wave-like contraction and relaxation. Just imagine something getting stuck into a pipe, and what will do? You'll just push it from one side so that it goes ahead. Again you'll push. So it's constant contraction and relaxation that you see in your food pipe, right? It is going to take the food downwards. Even if you are laying on a sofa and watching your TV, no matter what, the food will still go into the stomach, right? So gravity doesn't have to play any role over there. Yeah, so then we have gastric glands. What are gastric glands? Gastric glands are the glands present where? On the wall of stomach. So I know you must be aware of the glands in your body, right? Digestive glands. But always students have this confusion. Ki gastric glands are what? Are those all the glands or are they specific glands? So my dear student, they are the specific glands, okay, which are present on the wall of stomach. And what do? They release HCl, pepsin and mucus. Very important. Many a times repetitively asked in the CBSE examination regarding HCl, regarding mucus, regarding pepsin. So what are this? These are these glands which are present on the lining of the stomach and they produce HCl, pepsin and the mucus. Talking of pepsin, next comes pepsin itself. So what is pepsin? It's an enzyme. What kind of enzyme? A digestive enzyme. Now you see the word pepsin, which is going to degrade a polypeptide protein. Protein is made up of what? Polypeptide chains of amino acid, right? So this is doing the same thing. So gastric juice that catalyzes the breakdown of proteins to peptide. Peptide are small chains of amino acids, right? Feed. Next is emulsification of fat. Important, absolutely important. Okay, बहुत ही important. तो emulsification of fat क्या है? Is there any structural change? Is there any chemical change? Let's see. So emulsification is a process which is conducted by the bile salt. By the help of bile salt, this is happening. Emulsifies the fat globules, right? So it increases the surface area of the oil and water interface, which promotes the breakdown of fat by the pancreatic lipase. Lipase is what? Lipase is a pancreatic enzyme. ये क्या है? This is a pancreatic enzyme, ठीक है, which will now degrade the fat molecules further. Then what was bile salt doing? Can you see over here? This is a big fat globule, right? And then this bile salt gets stuck on it and makes it, you know, little small fat globules. So that is why it is more available to the lipase to work on. Now what is bile? Bile is that greenish yellowish juice secreted by our liver and stored into the gallbladder. It is basically a digestive juice. Mind the words, digestive juice and not the enzyme. It's a juice, okay? So it's a juice, not an enzyme, it's not a catalyst. So it's secreted by the liver, it's stored into the gallbladder, and it aids in the digestion and emulsification of fat. Now what are pancreatic juices? These are the digestive juices secreted by the pancreas altogether, right? So they are these alkaline secretions. That means they are quite basic, because the half digested chyme coming from your stomach would be acidic because of HCl present over there, and in our intestine we don't need that much of acidity over there. So to control that, bile also helps in it. Bile is also an alkaline thing. This is also an alkaline secretion, right? All grouped together they are referring to. So they help in the digestion of protein, carbohydrates and fats. Alright, so what are protein digesting enzymes, carbohydrate digesting enzymes and the fat? Fat, lipase, carbohydrate, amylase, protein, trypsin. What is trypsin? Trypsin is a pancreatic enzyme. It's an enzyme that catalyzes the breakdown of protein into smaller unit. What are the smaller unit, guys, of a protein? Amino acids. They are the amino acids, right? They are the amino acids. Then we have lipase. Lipase is also an enzyme that will facilitate the breakdown of fats into fatty acid and glycerol. Guys, this is asked, okay? The product, the substrate, right, and the end product. Fine. Next one is the villi. What are villi? Villi are the finger-like projection which are present continuously on your SI, right? It is present on your small intestine, and this increases the surface area for absorption, right? For absorption. Remember, for absorption, not digestion. Alright, so now what is egestion? Removal or elimination of undigested food waste from our alimentary canal is the process of egestion. Next one, now we are going to respiration. The next process, respiration is the process by which the food is burned, okay? Remember, respiration is for food is burned. The digested glucose will now be utilized by the cell, and the cell will produce ATP in presence of oxygen. So there are two types clearly. Aerobic. Aerobic means straight away where oxygen is necessary. It is important, right? So without oxygen it can't be aerobic respiration, and this produces the most amount of ATP. This also facilitates the complete breakdown, the complete combustion of the carbohydrate, that's your glucose. Next is anaerobic, that means where oxygen is minus, it's not present over there, right? And this is done in the abscess, and it releases little bit of ATP. Then we have alveoli. What are alveoli? They are tiny air sac-like structures which are now continuously being covered by the capillaries. So it's the site of gaseous exchange. Alright, next, the trachea. What are tracheas? What are trachea? Trachea is the air pipe, right? The wind pipe. It is a thin tube of respiratory system which has C rings of cartilaginous rings, right? So if this is our trachea, trachea has this C rings present which are cartilaginous, and it helps from keeping the trachea in one place and avoid from collapsing, right? Then we have bronchus. So you know that this trachea divides into two bronchi, yeah? left and right, and they also will have the C rings over them. So one of it is called as bronchus, that's all. One of it is called as singular bronchus. Then what do we have? We have next word, which is hemoglobin. Heme pigment, that means your blood cells, heme, right? And globin is protein, globular protein, so globin. So respiratory pigment, what it is? It's a respiratory pigment present in your RBCs and of vertebrates, of course, and which transport oxygen from lungs to the tissue. Then we have blood plasma. Plasma is the fluid in which the blood cells are suspended, right? That's the fluid part, the matrix. Next one, we are going to transportation now. Arteria. Arterias are what, my dear students? Arterias are the upper chamber of your heart, isn't it? Arterias are the upper chamber of your heart. That's all, right? That's your heart. Alright, so these ones are the atriums. Which ones? These ones are the atriums, the collecting chambers. Then the down one, the ventricles. Ventricles are what? Ventricles are this one. These ones are the ventricle. The right ventricle, right? The right atrium, the left atrium, and the left ventricle. So that's all. Easy, isn't it, to draw heart? I love to draw it all the time. Yeah, so that's it, done, right? So now that's your double circulation. Why double? Why double is a repetitive question asked in CBSE. Why double circulation? Because the blood travels twice in one cardiac cycle. That's why we call it as double circulation. Pulmonary and systematic are the two types of circulation happening in double circulation. Then what are arteries? The blood vessels which carries blood away from the heart and they carries oxygenated blood. Whereas what are the veins? The blood vessels which collect the blood. What's the keyword over here, beta? Collect the blood from various organs and pour it into the atrium. Yeah. Then clotting. Clotting, the process which is facilitated by your platelets, thrombocytes, right? The coagulation of blood, that means stoppage of blood flow, right? And blood clots is a semi-solid gelatinous mass. Okay, that's a process. Clotting is a process and clot is a mass. Blood clot is a mass, gelatinous clot, right, of coagulated blood that consists of red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets entrapped in a fibrin network. And who provides this activation of fibrins and all? That's the job of platelets and other vitamins like K. Then transportation in plant. What is root pressure? Root pressure is basically seen in the plants that results in osmosis, right? It's a result of osmosis causing the sap to rise the plant stem to the leaves. Then we have transpiration, the loss of water, evaporation of water, loss of water from the stomatas. Translocation, location, that means bidirectional flow, that's in the case of your phloem food. Then we have excretion, the biological process by which harmful metabolic waste are removed from the body. This is a point to pay attention, guys. Excretion, usually in Hadavadi what happens is we always talk about excreta, like the stools, right? And we start to describe the digestive system. But always remember, when we talk about excretion, they are talking about urine and urine formation and nitrogenous waste elimination, not the undigested food elimination. Alright. Kidney, I know you're smart, but sometimes many silly mistakes can happen. And that's a one checkpoint for us. Then kidney. Kidney are what? Two bean-shaped structures, right? Two bean-shaped structures which are present in our abdomen. Yeah, they are present in our abdomen. And what do? They do the filtration of the blood, right? They do the filtration of the blood, and their functional unit is nephron. The basic filtration unit in each kidney is your nephron. Now, reproduction. We are going to the next chapter, how do organism reproduce now. Reproduction is basically production of new organism from the existing one, okay, existing organism of the same species, keyword, same species. Then there are of two types, asexual, sexual. Asexual means the process of producing a new organism from a single parent, Then we have binary fission. Binary, two, fission, division. See, it's all in the name. Right? The parent of organism splits into two to form two new organisms. Multiple, many times. Plasmodium is the example, bacteria is the example for binary fission. Plasmodium, so the parent of organism splits to form many new organisms. Then budding in our yeast, hai na? Yeast we have seen, this is budding, and sometimes the chain of buds will also be formed, right? So small parts of the body present on the organism and it grows to form a bud, which when detached become a new organism. This is also seen in your Hydra. Hydra also show the similar kind of asexual reproduction, where this one will grow again in the new fall and will give rise to a new Hydra, right? So that's the case. All right, now fragmentation, where breaking down of the body happens, right? So this is spirulina. In spirulina we have seen if there are breaks done, so this three will now form new individual, right? So that's fragmentation. Then what is vegetative propagation? Vegetative propagation is the growth of new plant, asexual type of reproduction through leaf, stems and roots. Very important, asked in many times. Key, what is vegetative reproduction? When new plants are obtained from stem, leaves, root, that means without flower involving in it, then that's vegetative reproduction. Now the types of vegetative reproduction, yeah, layering. Layering is what? A branch of plant which is pulled towards the ground, okay, we just pull it toward the ground, then the part is then covered with the soil and to gain moisture and then converted into the new plant. Then what is grafting? Two different plants are grafted together, plant A and plant B, right? And then you can have a mixed characteristic in the new plant. Okay? So that's grafting. Tissue culture, when production of new plants from small piece of plants, this happens in the lab, right? Removed from the growing tips in suitable growth medium is called as tissue culture. This is also called as micropropagation, right? This is also called as micropropagation. Sexual reproduction, two plants or animals, both they have, right? So it takes a combination of special reproductive cells are involved, two plants or two animals, in both the cases it can happen. So two parents are there. So zygote is formed after combination of two or fusion of these two gametic cells, that's the sex cells. So after fusion, right, after fusion or fertilization, sex cells are fertilized each other, and then that's how the egg gets fertilized by the sperm and you get the zygote. And zygote is definitely a single cell. It's a single cell. Now the gametes. What are gametes? The sex cells, the reproductive cells, sperm cells, egg cells, all the same. Then we have pollination, transfer of pollen grains from the anther lobe, right, from the anther lobe to the stigma, right, that's pollination. So that's the female reproductive part, stigma, style and ovary, right. It can be same plant or it can be a different plant. So cross pollination and self pollination, same plant, self pollination, let it be different flowers or the same flower. But if it is the same plant, self pollination, different plant, cross pollination. Then fertilization, nothing. The fusion of male and female gamete is fertilization. And what's menstruation then? Menstruation is breakdown and removal of inner thick lining, that is also called as endometrium, right, of the soft lining of the uterus, right, along with the blood in from the vagina, that's called as the menstruation. Hey, coming to the new chapter now, hereditary and evolution. What do we have? Genetics, genesis, origin, right? So this is a study of transmission of characters from parents to the offspring. That means we are studying about the heredity, right? So what is hereditary? A process of transmission. It's a process of transmission of genetic characteristic from one generation to the other and to the other, right? So then what is variation? Variation can be the differences like between you and your sibling, or me and you, or us Indians and the other country, right? So we all are Homo sapien, but we are different. So we have same species, right? So it can be defined as differences between the individual in a species or a group of organism of any species. Okay. Now variations are of two types, somatic and gametic. Gametic variation occurs in germ cells. Germ cells are nothing but your sex cells, the sperm cells and the egg cells. If it is present over there, if there is a change in the DNA of these cells, then definitely it is going to get, into the next, into the next generation. But in case of somatics, variation, it is in the somatic cells. That means all the other cells in your body, if there is a variation in those are not going to get inherited, right? Now, what are characters and the traits? So, all the characters, hair color, height, right, the skin color, everything, the flower color, the plant height, the pod color, those are characteristics. But then what is the trait? Trait is basically the contrasting form. So like in case of Mendel, he has seen 7 characteristics and they had a trait, right? So tall, dwarf, trait, right? So those are the contrasting form of a characteristic which shows distinguishing features, and those are called as trait. Now what is genes? Hey guys, these are very important, genes and allele. Genes are nothing but the functional unit of the DNA. So DNA is made up of many genes, right? The segment of DNA. So what is DNA? What is genes? Genes is the specific DNA segment which will determine a hereditary character. So there is one gene for a character. Then we have alleles. Alleles are what? Now alleles are the alternative forms of the gene. So it can be brown, blue alleles, right? Hair color, blonde or red hair, alleles. So each parent, in each of us, we have 2 alleles for one characteristic. So it comes from our mom and from our father, right? Mother and father genes during the reproduction, these genes do come within us, and in case the mother is of blonde hair, right, and father is of brown hair. Now they are on the same specific position, on the same number of chromosome, right, and that's called as the allele. All right. Now then what is genotype? Genotype is basically the set of alleles that are carried by an organism. That means how is it? Whether it is capital T, small t, or whether it is capital T, capital T. So what kind of tall plant it is, heterozygous or homozygotic, then that's genotype. What is phenotype? Phenotype, both the plants are, to see how are they are, both of them are tall plants. So it's a physical, right? What it is a physical character. Doesn't matter whether, what is the genotype, hetero or homo, doesn't matter. What is dominant allele? Now in this case, if this is present, right, this will mask the effect of this recessive allele, and that's called as dominant allele, right? What is recessive? Recessive, now you know, the one which cannot express itself, its characteristic in the presence of dominant would be recessive. Coming to the laws of dominance now. First law That is the law of dominance we are discussing over here. Dominant law says that whenever the offspring inherit dominant characteristic of the phenotype, right, it will only appear, only that will appear, like just before we say, right. So this will only be tall. It can't be in between, no, right, it can't be of medium height, it would be always tall. So the second is law of segregation. Two alleles of hereditary characteristics are separated during the gamete formation. Both of them, capital T and small t was there, both of them, they just during the formation of gametes, gametes means the sex cells, that happens by the process of meiosis, and during the meiosis this gametes are getting separated just like that. That's law of segregation. Then what is law of independent assortment? In this case, right, dihybrid cross, you have seen, okay, there is yellow round and wrinkled green, right. So this characteristic, now you are getting 9:3:3:1 ratio. Now 9 are the dominant ones, of course, these 3 are the new ones, right. So that means the shape and the color has to do nothing with each other. They'll get separated independently without influencing the other one, right. So each pair of alleles are segregated independently of the other pair of allele during gamete formation. They do not interfere or influence the other one. Hey, coming to the chapter of our environment now. So food chain, it is a series. What it is? It's a series of organisms feeding on one another. Jivasya Jivashyam. Then what is food web? It is a network of food chain, we can say. It is a network of interconnecting food chain that is there in natural habitat, right? Then what are trophic levels? Trophic level is a relative position of entire food chain. So trophic level 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So 1 is obviously your producers, 2 is herbivores, carnivores, and the high level carnivores. Then 10% law. What is 10% law? According to Raymond Lemon, he has given it, right? 10% of energy is passed on to the next one. That's all, and almost 90% is lost in every step, right? So that's because either the organism is utilizing it or it is lost in the process of transferring it, right? Biomagnification, important terminologies, guys. Biomagnification, magnification is, you know, making it bigger. Similar way, the poisonous non-degradable chemical substances can get higher into the food chain, and it can jump from one trophic level to another trophic level to another trophic level. So the number of, you know, the amount of the non-biodegradable chemical would be highest in the highest trophic level. So that's why biomagnification. So let's see technically how will we write it. So this is increase of accumulation of harmful chemicals at each trophic level. Keyword क्या है बच्चा? Keyword है यहाँ पे each trophic level, and that's known as biomagnification. What is biodegradable waste? The waste which can be degraded into non-toxic compounds naturally by the organisms. Then non-biodegradable waste, they cannot be broken down into simpler non-toxic or non-poisonous substances. Yay, greenhouse effect. Greenhouse effect is actually good because of which we stay cozy in the nights, right? So here when the sun energy reaches the earth atmosphere, it is re-radiated, right? Atmosphere, some of it is reflected back into the space and rest of it is absorbed and re-radiated. Keyword re-radiated, absorbed, because of which we can stay warmer in the night. Now this is because of the atmospheric gases. Imagine these gases getting higher in concentration, what would happen? Global warming, right? So global warming is what? That is the accumulation of greenhouse gases by constant burning of fossil fuels and all those human activities which we should not do, CFCs and toxic gases that we produce, right? So in the earth atmosphere, it increases the temperature gradually, that's global warming. And who is working for it? UNEP, right? This is UNEP logo. So United Nations Environment Program, which has implemented some regulations and all, because of which now we are successfully helping in patching up the ozone layer hole. So what is depletion? It is thinning of ozone layer because of such gases which harms the O3 molecules. They break it down, CFCs, it reacts with the ozone molecule, and that's how we started depleting it. Alright, so here we finish up all the terminologies of CBSE grade 10 biology. This is sufficient for you to just revise the entire biology in some time, right? Hope this video you like it. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you, tata, take care. This is Deveeka signing off.